And good morning, everyone. Welcome to this day. It is October 30th, and I'm going to tell you about the weather because we got a bit of a change coming up and could have a little winds involved. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. On our show today, we're going to have a doctor from Hoag who's going to talk about pancreatic cancer and early detection. Also, Katie Porter is here. Katie is a candidate for the Congress 45th District, and we're going to sit down and talk with her. And first up is going to be Tim Moy today, our security director, and a different subject. Going to talk about opioids and how they affect this community. So really different for him to come on and talk about this, but very important and kind of dovetails into our social services program here as well. Now, as far as meetings, well, no meetings again. In fact, the next meeting coming up this week will be on Thursday. There are only 3 meetings total this week. So let's get to the weather. And we had a little bit of fog out there this morning, certainly not like what we had yesterday. But what's going on is this high pressure system is beginning to develop, and it's going to bring us warmer weather and some winds with that. Now, the way it looks for Southern California as a whole is that the winds, the offshore winds, will start to pick up midday to afternoon to evening. We may see red flag warnings in certain areas, more than likely not here. In fact, the way it looks is that we may start to see our winds down here later on this evening, overnight tonight into tomorrow. However, we shouldn't have the real strongest area in South Orange County, but we'll still get some decent gusts out of it. It's really up in Ventura, North LA, and believe it or not, out in the desert communities are looking at a lot of wind, way out on the other side of the mountains. So expect the evening winds tomorrow, mild winds, so we can see the temperatures go up. So I'm thinking about 77 to, I'm going to say 77 to about 79 today. The fog has parted a little bit quicker than I thought it would. So if anything, we're going to be in the low 80s for the next several days, and Halloween will be, I like Halloween cooler than that, but we could have a little bit of winds tomorrow, but I don't think they're going to be real strong down in this area, but definitely we will have some. Let's look around the county and beyond today, and just fairly nice weather everywhere you go. I mean, really, as I said, the winds will pick up in certain areas of Southern California, mainly Ventura, North LA County. You'll probably see those coming in the afternoon, and then as you get more southward, you'll see those coming on later on this evening. And down in this area, I'm thinking late tonight, overnight into tomorrow will probably be the strongest winds. So there you have it. Palm Springs about 9 today, Big 58. Everywhere else, you can see the upper 70s, and the beaches averaging about 69 degrees or so. We'll see all those temperatures begin to go up a little bit tomorrow. It's not going to be real hot in this area, but we'll definitely see maybe about a 4 to 5, maybe even a 6 degrees going up. Friday should be the warmest day this week. And then beyond that, you know, we'll kind of tail it down. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
When other dealers say no, Capistrano Toyota says, yes, we can. Low payments? Yes, we can. Low financing for all types of credit? Yes, we can. Capistrano Toyota features 10 acres of new and certified pre-owned Toyotas, plus many used cars priced below $10,000. When other dealers say no, Capistrano Toyota says, yes, we can. Exit the 5 freeway at Camino Capistrano.
Welcome back. Well, you were just watching the Great California Shakeout, and that was organized by Tim Moore, our Director of Security. And we'd like to thank Mark Rabinowitz for taking all of those photos. Today I have Tim Moy with me, who's going to talk about opioid addiction in our seniors and also in our country. And I know you've got a lot of history with this.
I do. So when I was with the Sheriff's Department, I worked narcotics. I did that for about 7 years down here in South Orange County. And although I didn't deal with prescription abuse as much, you know, we were mainly working with methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, a little bit of opium. But it wasn't until I promoted through the ranks and was a captain overseeing the coroner's division that I really got to see the results of prescription abuse, especially amongst that age group, 45 to 54, that 54 to 65 range. And it's very unfortunate, you know, with the opioid abuse and the prescription abuse, and they do work kind of together on that.
Right, and I think we certainly are not even aware of the fact that there is an abuse situation of that age group. I think we only hear more about the younger generation stealing, you know, drugs from their parents, you know, bathrooms and things.
Absolutely, and you think of the younger generation as more with the illicit opioids, and that would be, of course, heroin, the injecting and smoking it, what have you, and you think more of the older generations of the prescription abuse, and that is true, and we see that here in Orange County, especially amongst our seniors as well. So it's, you know, at the national levels, it's reached epidemic. And, you know, in 2017, the FDA actually came out and said that opioid addiction is their #1 crisis. The FDA is the Food and Drug Administration. And then in 2017 again, President Trump came out and said that this is a health crisis nationwide in our country. So it's something we definitely need to pay more attention to. We have to be proactive, our medical professionals, and here in the village, even neighbors, kind of keeping an eye on neighbors when when they have a friend or what have you who's had some medical issues and they've been prescribed certain types of heavy dosage of drugs.
So let's talk a little bit about sort of why this became something I wanted to talk about. So you had written an article about opioid abuse here in the community. And so I thought it would be a really great subject because I think we all need to understand sort of where we're at. And I know you have some slides and we'll kind of go through those so you can sort of help us out. You said that there was a national report that has come out, right? There
is, and there was also a local report, and that was through the healthcare agency in partnership with the Sheriff's Department's coroner division. So the Sheriff's Department is not just Orange County Sheriff, it's Orange County Sheriff Coroner. And the coroner tracks all those statistics. And so working together, they were able to take a look at the statistics and what kind of opioid abuse that we're seeing here that results in ER visits and that also results in death. And hey, the numbers are somewhat staggering.
Right, yeah, and that bulletin that you did, was that just locally here in the community or did it go elsewhere?
It was just local, but I based it on the that report that came out for the county. So if you wanted to go to the Orange County Healthcare site, you could see the full report as well. And there's reports on just opioids, there's reports on drug abuse and drug overdoses in general. So there's a lot of information out there now, which is great. You know, we're trying to educate our public. I think there's been quite a bit of education with our medical professionals as well. To get them up to speed as to these issues with our seniors. Once was just accounted as, hey, illnesses due to an aging population. Now they're looking at it and saying, well, hold on a second here. Is there some prescription abuse that may be causing someone to fall, that may be causing someone to be disoriented, that may be causing them to be more withdrawn? So it's not just age, it's not just that maybe some dementia issues that you might see with the older population. But now we're going back and looking at, is there other things that we need to take a closer look at as well. And they've done a good job at it. We're seeing some improvements in that area, at least with the whole concept of education, awareness, and then even enforcement.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about seniors and prescription use. So there's there's some general statistics that you wanted to sort of go
I
over
do,
there, so.
because I think our seniors here need to be aware of it, and that it's a risk. We know that seniors are 3 times more likely to use prescription medications, more so than the general public. Everyone knows that our seniors have more medical issues that are taking place. They may have some serious surgeries that require some more powerful medications to be prescribed. With those powerful medications comes with a risk of addiction. And so you have to follow the rules, you have to follow the direction of your doctor.
Right.
You've got to monitor that closely. Family's got to do their part. So there's a lot involved with that. But the numbers are a little bit scary as you start to see some of the results of prescription abuse.
One thing that I did hear about is, so you have someone who's going to their regular doctor for pain or maybe something related to having to take a muscle relaxer or some sort of pain medication. But then they go to their therapist, maybe a mental therapist, and then they're going, oh, I need this.
Right.
So now you've got 2 different doctors prescribing things that could severely have a reaction.
Right.
So is there certain laws that are in place for that?
There is. There's what's called the Cures report, or a database, and that is a monitoring database for doctors to go to avoid just what you're describing. We call that doctor shopping. Cures is Controlled Substance Utilization Review and Evaluation System. That's a big, long phrase, but basically what that is a database for a doctor to check to make sure that that physician is the only person who is prescribing those drugs.
Okay.
Now, over the years, there's been some issues with that database, but they've cleaned that up. There's been, again, more education with our medical professionals. There's been higher accountability. The DOJ is the enforcement agency that monitors it, that enforces it.
Okay.
So we're trying to, I think they've done a better job in keeping our doctors accountable and making sure that they're not prescribing drugs in a way that would facilitate abuse.
Right.
So,
Good.
yeah, that's something that's important. And then the whole doctor shopping has been very important to try to get a hold of or get under control.
Right.
As well.
Okay. And then let's. I know we talked a little bit about age groups, but let's go back to that again, because that talks about the deaths in Orange County here. The 2017 report on opioid overdose and death in Orange County. I know we have a slide for that. But can you go a little bit more in depth about that?
Well, 45 to 54 had the highest percentage, and so that's leading up to our senior population here. As you all know, this is a 55 and above, but if you look at it, seniors 55 to 64 were the second highest rate of opioid overdoses. And what are we talking about? Opioids.
Right.
Oxycontin, Percocet, Vicodin. Those are some powerful drugs.
That is. I mean, that's amazing that they're even getting that much to cause an overdose. I mean, does just a little bit amount cause an overdose, or do you have to take a lot?
Well, it depends. So let's talk. Let's talk about.
I don't know the strengths.
Right. So if we were having a glass of wine. I'm about 225 pounds, and let's say I was on a full stomach. I've had dinner, what have you. I'm in good health. Now, let's say.
And we're just not going to talk about my weight.
Right. So you have that same glass of wine, but you've had a full day. You haven't been feeling that well. You're drinking it on an empty stomach. You're taking some other medications right now for some other health issues. That glass of wine is going to impact you much differently than it would me. The same for medications. Depending on what other types of medications you're under, what is your health, what is your immune system, what is your age, again, how frail are you? So if you were to take a, let's say, Vicodin or OxyContin based on the prescription, and you didn't follow the directions of your physician, you didn't take it on a full stomach, or you took it when you're extremely fatigued, or you mixed it with a little bit of alcohol, it is going to have a different effect on you than maybe designed or what your doctor was hoping it would.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is something we've got to keep an eye on. You've got to follow the directives of your physician.
Is it generally and I know this is more of a medical thing, so I'll keep it really light, but I'm just saying if you are prescribed multiple medications or even just one, Do the doctors, do the patients go back to their doctor, and did the doctor say, hey, how are you doing on that drug, and that kind of thing? I mean, I wonder how they monitor or help them.
Right. Well, I think that's partly the patient's responsibility, don't you think? Yeah. So if I was to be prescribed Vicodin, and I have, and I don't like it, I feel queasy, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to go back to my physician and say, hey, you know what? Can you prescribe me something else?
Right.
That doesn't react well with my body.
Right.
And the other part of it is you need to tell your doctor, hey, I'm taking these over the prescription medications, or I'm also being treated for whatever other illness you may have.
Right.
That doctor, you've got to give that doctor the tools to do his or her job, to make sure that they have all the information so that they don't prescribe a medication that you shouldn't be taking based on the fact that you may be taking others. Now, of course, that's where the Cures report comes in as well. They need to be doing their job. And be checking that database.
And a slide that we just had up was talking about avoiding prescription abuse, kind of going along what you were saying. And so using a pill organizer, which I know my father uses, and I would imagine many do. So if you put just the one in each one of those pockets, you won't generally take another one.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Now here's an issue here, and I'm willing to discuss this. I think we all can have a story to tell about prescription abuse, whether it be a friend, a colleague, a family member. When I was with the Sheriff's Department, I worked with an individual who suffered a severe back injury, and they medically retired him. He was in so much pain. They had him on morphine drips, and he just couldn't take it any longer. We saw, unfortunately, he committed suicide based on that. But one of the issues with him was that he was in so much pain that he did not abide by his prescription.
Right.
I had a sister as well. She had hip surgery, neck surgery. She was in a lot of pain, and she was just trying to alleviate the pain as well. And so rather than sticking to the prescription and the times to take it, when you're in pain, sometimes you just want to alleviate it. I had a sister that died of an overdose of prescription meds. So it's unfortunate. She wasn't a bad person. She was just in a circumstance where she was just trying to feel better.
But that's the commonality, though.
That is common, and here in the village, if you've got a neighbor that has gone in for some type of procedure, and as a result has become a little bit more withdrawn, maybe they're starting to fall a little bit more. We just ask you to do your part and to let us know about it. We've got a great social services department. Those folks have incredible training. Matter of fact, I went to them when preparing this report as well, just to get their feedback. They're experts on it. They're going to do their part to come alongside and assist our residents to give them the resources to get the necessary the help they need.
Or even if you don't need help, but you're looking to get more information, they would be a really great source too.
Yep. Yeah. Anytime you can go and see social services, they've got an open door policy. They've got a great team that is available to you. So I guess my thing is to our community and to those neighbors. Our neighbors are the eyes and ears, and we talk about that whole see something, say something. When you see something out of place, a person who doesn't belong in the community. But how about your neighbor who you've known for 15 years, and there's some things going on that just doesn't seem right. Their recovery's not going very well. Maybe they don't have the family who's checking in on them. They don't have that caregiver in place. So there's those factors, and you just don't see them out and about. Again, that whole thing of being withdrawn, being a little bit disoriented, things that maybe in the past we thought, oh, that's just a normal aging process. Now they're looking at other factors as well.
And one other thing I might recommend too is making sure that your neighbor has a relative phone number. Because that's been very key for my situation. Is that my father, if he's elderly and I don't talk to him every day, but if there's something out of the ordinary, then my neighbor would call. So
Absolutely.
I think that's a real key thing. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad we could have this discussion.
Thanks for
I
having
saw
me.
that article and I had to have you on. Thank you. And remember, anytime you need some help, you can always go to social services and they can answer your questions or they can help you if you need anything. And that number is 597-4267. We'll be right back. I did mess that up.
save money like we do, I want to introduce you to our granddaughter, Erin Reed, who's a Medicare advisor. Erin, can you save my neighbors and friends money as you have done with Grandpa and me?
Many of the plans I offer have $0 monthly premiums and can help save you money. There are many different options out there when it comes to Medicare coverage, and I represent all of them. But more importantly, I represent you as the individual. Call today for a free plan comparison.
Living and learning in Laguna Woods Village is a unique experience. For over 40 years, the Emeritus Institute has provided tuition-free college classes within your community. Join us to experience expert faculty, quality academics, and to make new friends through the Emeritus Institute. New classes start every semester, and you can join nearly any time. Visit our office at Clubhouse 4 or anytime at saddleback.edu/emeritus. Learn, live, and thrive with the Emeritus Institute.
When I was first diagnosed, they gave me about 2 years to live.
After they took it out, they did some additional tests and it found out that yes, it was a cancerous tumor.
I had an aorta dissection and that triggered a stroke on top of it.
I've been in treatment a little over 2 years. They saved my life.
If I hadn't been pregnant, they would not have found that mass. If it hadn't been for Ben, I might not be here.
It was amazing that he has knowledge to do what he has to do to save me.
Welcome back. I have Dr. Cork here, who's with Hoag Hospital, and we're going to talk to us a little bit about pancreatic cancer. He is a gastroenterologist and advanced endoscopist. I said it right. Thank you. Well, welcome. It's nice to have you here today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell me a little bit, first of all, let's talk about the Anita Erickson Pancreatic Cancer Early Detection Program and sort of what's going on with pancreatic cancer today.
Well, as you probably know, pancreatic cancer is a very deadly disease,
right,
often because it's diagnosed at a late stage. Mm-hmm. So at Hoag, we saw an opportunity to try to catch the diagnosis earlier in a group of at-risk patients, okay, and that's where the idea for the early detection program came about.
Okay, and what does it entail? So how would you screen people early for something like that?
So in general, we don't have good screening tests for pancreatic cancer. Through our program, we identify patients who are at a higher risk based on family history, genetic mutations. For example, if somebody either personally had another cancer and had a genetic analysis done and then were found to have a mutation that puts them at risk for pancreatic cancer, mm-hmm, or certain other chronic conditions like chronic pancreatitis or pancreas cysts that might put them at a higher risk, okay, for developing cancer. And then we take that population of patients and enroll them in our program, where we get a very personalized approach to each patient. Mm-hmm. We have a genetic counselor who, okay, meets with them at the beginning and assesses their risk. We have a multidisciplinary meeting about, mm-hmm, to go over every case every, mm-hmm, month. Mm-hmm. And then we do screening with a combination of MRI and what I do, which is endoscopic ultrasound.
Okay, and before I ask you what that is it like a clinical trial that you're going through?
Yeah, and okay, then it does include what we call a registry trial. So okay, all the data that we collect, we compile, and we hope to contribute to the field of knowledge in the future in terms, right, of who is at highest risk of developing cancer and who we can, or which patients we can catch this cancer earlier.
Okay.
And there's only a handful of programs like this around the country.
Well, and you'd think that, I mean, we certainly have heard about cases of pancreatic cancer, that you'd think that there would be maybe more studies done on it. But I think you're coming to a point where you could actually do the studies, right?
Right.
Okay.
And it's that screening is very challenging in pancreatic cancer because we don't have good screening tests. Even when it's a very small tumor, may not be seen on a CT, and it's not routine to. We're just unable to, as a medical field, to screen everybody.
Right.
I think in the future we'll have blood tests, but that's still years away, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about what you just said. The endoscopy. Is it a surgery, or how does that work?
It's a scope procedure. Most people are familiar with endoscopy or colonoscopy from their screening colonoscopy. So it's similar. It's a camera on the end of a scope, but there's an ultrasound in addition to the regular camera. So I pass that scope into the stomach, and from inside the stomach we get a very detailed look at the pancreas. We can see the entire organ. And if there is anything abnormal in the form of a tumor or a cyst, we can do a needle biopsy.
Okay. So you would have to do that through, you still would have to do some sort of incision?
No, this is all incisionless down through the mouth.
Oh,
so
I
just
see.
like your regular upper endoscopy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, and then ideally, if we catch a tumor in its earliest stage, we can refer the patient to our team of expert surgeons, and pancreatic cancer can be curable. It's just that so often it's not caught at that early stage.
I see. So what happens once you have done the endoscopy, right? Once you've done that, and then what if you find something? Then what happens?
Yeah, if we find something and it's concerning, and usually in that case I'd be able to take a biopsy and get a diagnosis. And if it's something cancerous, like I said, we have a team of expert surgeons and oncologists at Hoag, as well as radiation oncologists and all the other support staff to treat these patients.
Okay.
And in that situation, the patient could have surgery and have the tumor resected.
Okay.
And like I said, if it's small, usually what we consider small is less than 2 centimeters or less than an inch. It can be curable.
Okay.
So that patient, would still need future follow-up and possibly even chemo, but those tumors are considered curable.
Okay. Well, that's good news for sure. Other than having a history or maybe pre-cancer of some sort, are there any other early signs or signs of pancreatic cancer? Is there some sort of symptoms that people should look out for?
Yeah, people often ask us that, and unfortunately, the signs don't come on until later in the disease. That's getting back to why this disease is so challenging. But certain signs that people could look for are abdominal pain, usually in the upper abdomen and sometimes radiating to the back.
Okay.
Weight loss, although that's a more advanced sign. And sometimes jaundice, which is yellowing of the eyes and skin if the tumor blocks the bile duct.
Oh, I see. Would there be any other indigestion things that would go on, anything like that?
There can be, but often those symptoms are vague, and and could be applied to a lot of other conditions. So that's where it's quite challenging.
Yeah, I would imagine, because it's not very direct at all. I mean, sure, we all have those types of pains, and now, of course, I'm going to think for a second very about it. But no, I'm just saying that there's so, like you said, so many different things that could go on that could lead you to believe it's something serious, but it's not. But nevertheless, they should always call and talk to their doctor about it. Right.
It's important to check with your doctor, and usually it starts with if those symptoms do come up, it may start with a standard endoscopy, an ultrasound, or maybe a CT scan. And we do hope that if that were the case, we can catch whatever is there early.
Right. So in terms of technology and what we're looking forward to doing, especially when we talk about doing blood tests that are specific to this type of cancer, what are some of the things that you're seeing or looking forward to seeing?
Well, there's a big area of research in what's called microRNA, which is just circulating markers similar to DNA that some certain tumors might release into the bloodstream.
Okay.
So there's research in that field into using those in a simple blood test or even urine test to try to identify somebody who may have a tumor hiding somewhere.
Okay.
But like I said, that research may be years away before it's actually can be applied practically.
But at least it's on the horizon.
Yes.
You know, something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the information. I know that even though November is men's awareness for health and a variety of different cancers, this is one to definitely take a look at. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
And remember, if you need any information regarding this particular type of cancer, you can always go to hoag.org/pancreatic. We'll be right back. Thank you.
I was unable to achieve erection. You know, being single and when searching for a partner, that was always in the forefront of my thinking. I wanted to find a more natural solution.
Lasara offers the only clinically proven medical treatment that reverses erectile dysfunction without the use of pills, needles, or surgery.
I'm just really grateful to Lasara. This is the best decision I could ever have made.
Call now for the Laguna Woods Special.
I found my way to Braille Institute through my optometrist. He diagnosed me with retinitis pigmentosa and gave me a referral to Braille. It's actually made a huge difference in my life. Each class gave me a certain type of independence, whether it's taking a bus. I never took a bus before. I always used to drive. So it gave me the independence of getting out of my community, taking the bus and getting to the market and back. The computer class, once again, I had to relearn my computer skills. Cooking is an issue. The stove could get dangerous. So they teach us other ways of cooking. That just falls back on being independent again. If I came across somebody who needed Braille's help to get their independence, I would actually let them know what it did for me. Braille, like I said, gave me back my independence. Braille Institute also has what they call low vision specialists, and they introduce you into devices such as handheld magnifiers, which are really great for on the go. Computer programs such as ZoomText. I owe everything to Braille. Getting my independence back, learning how to get around. I had people skills, but Braille Institute showed me as a visually impaired person, you can still do it. People, when they become visually impaired, they want to stay in a box and they don't want to leave their homes. They're afraid to go back to work. You can't do that. You got to get out the box, step out the door, and go to a place like Braille Institute so you can give yourself a peace of mind. You can still live a full life. Don't let your vision impairment slow you down.
All programs are offered at no charge thanks to the generous support of our donors. For more information about the broad range of free programs and services offered by Braille Institute, call 1-800-BRAILLE or visit brailleinstitute.org.
I'm Dr. Leif Loberg, and I want to welcome you to our brand new facility here in Laguna Woods. We've been serving the community since 2006, and we're super excited to bring you an awesome team of doctors, Dr. Jackson, Dr. Asaturians, Dr. Vian, and myself, here to serve you in our brand new state-of-the-art facility. Call us in the morning and we'll get you in the same day, guaranteed.
Well, I'd like to welcome Katie Porter here today, and Katie is running for Congress, the 45th District, and I'd like to welcome you.
Thank you so much.
I know you've been on before. I think it was before the primary,
yes,
right?
It's wonderful to be
great
back.
to have you on
yes.
again. So if people didn't see you before, tell us about yourself. Why are you running?
Yeah, I'm a law professor at the University of California, Irvine, and a consumer protection attorney. I'm also a mom of 3 great kids who are very excited about Halloween. So they go to public schools in Irvine. And I've spent my career fighting to help families who were cheated by big banks or predatory lenders. So I worked across the state of California as the foreclosure prevention monitor, helping families stay in their homes, including 11,000 families right here in Orange County.
So you probably had a lot of work a few years back, right?
I had a lot of work a few years back, and there are unfortunately still some families who are trying to pick up the pieces from that, from losing wealth in their home or losing home values. So it has a long-term effect on our economy here locally.
Right, it does. How old are your kids, by the way?
They are 12 and 10 and 6.
Oh, wow.
So middle school and elementary school.
Yeah.
So.
All right. No wonder Halloween is big in your house, just like our house. So we're going to talk about a few things that obviously are a big part of your campaign. I think the campaigns across the country right now. And one of the biggest issues is health care. There's no denying how much health care costs in any way, shape, and form, whether you're employed, you're on Medicare, whatever it might be. And you know, a lot of that is the insurance costs. Of course, the drug costs is just absolutely phenomenal. So how do you view this? You can look at this. I know you have some plans and some ideas about this, and I'm going to let you talk about it to make sure that you know, say what you want, because I'm not sure what I have here is correct.
So the way I think about healthcare, based on talking to thousands of families across this district, is what I hear over and over again is that the current healthcare system is really unsustainable. And we're seeing that both for those who have private health insurance through their employers, those who buy it on the Affordable Health Care Exchange, and including folks who are on Medicare currently. So one of the biggest pressures facing people on Medicare is the rising costs of drugs. It's why my campaign doesn't take money from corporate PACs, and we don't take money from those who work at big pharmaceutical companies, is we need leaders in Washington who will stand up to those companies. Our Congress passed a law that prohibits the government from negotiating pharmaceutical prices for Medicare. And that's why folks who are on Medicare pay many, many times more for the exact same drug than people who, for instance, have health care through the VA system. So that's one of the things that I'll fight to change in Washington.
Okay, that seems to be one of the things. I don't know about the Congress as a whole, but I know President Trump has come out again and again, who also wants to get the drug prices down from what they pay in other countries, because it's phenomenal here. It's just unbelievable how much some of them there can be. Now, what about when it comes to people as a whole? Because a lot of people point to having, and I don't like to use this term, but it's been used, Medicare for all. I know that's not the correct term. But what we've seen that since the Affordable Care Act, that in many cases costs have gone up, didn't do much to bring the price of drugs down or the cost of insurance down.
So
it
let's
did
talk
just
about,
almost the opposite.
Let's talk about what the Affordable Care Act did, because I think it's really important that people think back to just a few years ago when we had children who were born in a hospital, and on the first day of their lives, because they were born with a special need, they were uninsurable for the rest of their lives, because there were no protections for pre-existing conditions. Those protections for pre-existing conditions have allowed millions of folks across the country and lots of small business owners in particular here in Orange County to get health insurance that they otherwise could not have. So what the Affordable Care Act did is drop the number of people without insurance in this country. It reduced the number of medical bankruptcies caused by medical bills. And we've seen across this county and across across this country strong support for protecting those with pre-existing conditions, which was the core achievement of the Affordable Care Act. Now, with regard to healthcare costs generally, the Affordable Care Act, you're correct, didn't do much to tackle the price of drugs, and that's been the fastest growing area of healthcare costs in recent years. That's why, like I said, I'm not taking money from pharmaceutical companies, and we need to make sure that we're making that change. It is an act of Congress that is prohibiting government from negotiating drug care prices. That's not a market, that's not a market-based economy, and it's leaving our seniors as consumers of drugs and pharmaceuticals in their later years at the risk of being price gouged by pharmaceutical companies. And we've seen that triple and quadruple digit increases in the cost of life-saving drugs. EpiPens for children,
That's true. Yes.
diabetes drugs, insulin. And so these are problems that still need to be tackled. There's work to be done in Washington, and that's why I'm running.
Okay, let's talk about taxes. It's a big issue for everyone, especially when you live in this state. They can be almost overbearing at times. The tax cut that came about, there are a couple things that it seemed to have achieved, and that is, yes, there were a lot of corporate tax cuts that came about, but a couple things that came out during this, and I'm just picking these two because I follow these two companies. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, Apple, of course, brought back, I don't know if they've done it quite yet, but hundreds of billions of dollars that were overseas back into America at a lower tax rate. And Tim Cook said this never would have happened without the tax cut. And also Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney and many other companies, gave bonuses out to employees and also said the same thing. Interesting, both of those people, both of those CEOs are Democrats, and yet they said the tax cut certainly had a benefit. How do you look at it?
So first off, Ken, I don't agree with you that what we saw was a tax cut, unless you're talking about the largest corporations in this country. Make no mistake about it, you're right. Multinational corporations that had offshored income and have been offshoring jobs like Apple and Disney, they got a tax cut. The tax rate on big corporations dropped from 35% to 21%. But for families here in Orange County, this Trump tax law is a tax increase. And I'll tell you why. Because what this system did, what Trump did, is reverse a historic and long-standing principle of taxation, which is that your state and local taxes, including your property tax, should be deducted from what your income is before we calculate your federal tax. And so I've heard from families around this district, I know from my own family, that we're gonna be paying thousands of dollars of more tax. People are starting to go in to see their accountants. They're starting to make plans to file their taxes in January, February, March of this coming year, and they're hearing that they're gonna owe $5,000, $10,000, $13,000, $15,000 in additional tax. Because what Mimi Walters supported, and no other Orange County Republican did this, only Mimi Walters, is she voted to punish California, which Trump was very clear was the goal of this tax plan, was to punish California for its political views. She voted to limit our state and local income taxes at $10,000. And that basically is creating double taxation on that income. And I'm strongly opposed to it. Orange County families can't afford it.
Okay, well, maybe our state should lower some taxes then as well.
But I'm running for federal office, and look, if you think the problem is higher taxes, then you should be a champion for tax fairness for whatever office you're in. And Mimi Walters has absolutely failed to do that. And at the same time, she's shown her true colors. I'm the champion for fiscal common sense in this race. That Trump tax bill raised our deficit by $1.9 trillion. And we've already heard Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell say that Medicare and Social Security will be on the chopping block to try to address the deficit that they just created. And our seniors can't afford it.
Let's talk about Medicare now. So what's your view? And right now we're not talking about Medicare for all or anything like that. We're talking about how Medicare stands right now. And is there something that you would look at and you would like to see a change with it, and just in general?
Yep. So I already mentioned the single most important change we have to make is changing the law, reversing the law that prohibits the negotiation of drug prices for those who are on Medicare. But drug prices and the premiums that people are paying for Part B and Part D are going up. And we're seeing increasingly people are spending more and more of their Social Security check just to pay their Medicare premiums. And that's eroding the retirement benefit of Social Security. So I propose that we actually need to make a modest expansion in Social Security benefits. The average person who gets a Social Security check receives $1,335 a month. And that's equivalent to a worker working at minimum wage in this country. And on top of that, seniors are paying increased premiums for Medicare and increased out-of-pocket medical costs. So I think we need to not only protect Social Security, but we need to make some modest expansions in it to make sure that it continues to meet seniors' needs.
Okay, yeah, they always went up by the cost of living, but you're like, I think the cost of living costs a lot more than what it went up by.
And one proposal very concretely what people have made that I strongly support is to use something called the CPIE.
Yes.
It's a cost of living index specifically designed to reflect the costs that older Americans face, including high drug costs. And so if we switch to CPIE, people would see increases in their Social Security check each year to help them better keep pace with the cost of living they're really facing.
Yeah, very true. We have about a minute left, and this is just more of a philosophical question about with the Supreme Court. Do you think, irregardless of who just got on, do you think there should be term limits on the Supreme Court? This is more just a philosophical one, however you may view it. And I ask that because you work at UCI Law, and I've talked to some of the folks over there.
Look, the Constitution governs our court system, and one of the things we know is that we need to respect and honor our Constitution. And so the Constitution provides for lifetime political appointments, and I'm going to fight to protect our constitutional rights. I'm really bothered by what Donald Trump said today, that he thinks he can just override the Constitution with regard to some of our nation's longstanding policies. And so with regard to term limits, that's a constitutional issue. Our Constitution creates lifetime judicial appointments, and it's part of that system of checks and balances that we rely on in our government. And I think a lot of the support coming for our campaign is coming from folks who think we need more common sense and more checks and balances from our Congress, and less rubber stamping the president's agenda, even when it tramples our Constitution. We have to stand up for our country.
All right, thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Very easy to find her website, katieporter.com. And remember, November 6th, if you haven't put in your mail-in ballot yet, that's the date. We'll be right back. iPad vote.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sean Thomas. Welcome to Sports Talk. Come join me here every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. for sports highlights, tournament news, and interviews for Laguna Woods residents and around the world. Hey, maybe even Broadway. It's a beautiful day for a ball game. Put it on your calendar. Thursday mornings, a great way to start your day with me and the Sports Talk way. Or even a triple's okay. I'll see you then.
I'm a strong believer that there's something for everyone out there. But some people never stop searching. I've looked long and hard through these parts, and I thank my lucky stars I stumbled across a special place, a unique place, where you never know what you'll find. The Trading Post, only on Channel 6.
Kiana Lee. Today, we're talking with Dr. Christine Chung. Today's topic is gum disease. Doctor, what do we need to know about gum disease?
Mom. Oh, I'm sorry. Gum disease is an infection of the tissue that support and surround your teeth. It's a major cause of tooth loss in adults, but it's an easy fix.
Thank you, doctor. So don't wait, people. Come on in and get your 7-day dental smile.
So what do you think about all this, Charlie?
What do you mean?
You know, working the backside, being here in the asshole or nowhere.
I like working the horses. What's this one's name?
Leon Pete.
And here's number 6, Leon Pete.
You won, right?
Yes. Look, if we're gonna be working together, you gotta get some manners. You gotta chew your food. What does your mom say?
I don't know. I don't know her.
Well, does your dad have any manners?
I don't know. I guess I haven't really noticed. You gonna be okay on your own today? Yeah.
Did your mom leave you or something?
Yeah.
Reaching out to find you.
Hey, Pete. How you doing?
Put it all behind you.
Can't get attached to the horse.
I know.
Why not?
They're here to race and nothing else.
Listen, kid, things are changing.
What do you mean?
I'm selling him.
He's not a pet. It's just a horse.
I'll buy him.
What? With what money? And where are you going to keep him? Not in my stalls.
Come on, Pete. I'm gonna get us out of here.
And that was our Friday movie called Lean on Pete, and that will be shown at 2 and 7 p.m. And it's rated R, and it's a very heartfelt movie, as you could see, about Charlie, a teen who lives with his single father, finds work caring for an aging racehorse named Lean on Pete. And when he learns that Pete is bound for slaughter, the two embark on an odyssey across the new American frontier in search of a place to call home. That is Charlie Plummer, Amy Simmons, and Travis Fimmel. So what do you got for Monday?
That looks like a really good movie.
It does. It
and
does.
so does the Monday movie, Hearts Beat Loud. This stars Nick Offerman and Kiersey Clemens and Blythe Danner in a hip Brooklyn neighborhood of Red Hook. Single dad and record store owner Frank is preparing to send his hardworking daughter Sam off to college while being forced to close his own vintage shop. Hoping to stay connected through their shared music passions, Frank urges Sam to turn their weekly jam sessions into a father and daughter live act, and the two embark on a journey of love, growing up, and musical discovery. This sounds like a really good movie. Nick Offerman usually plays sort of that dry, offbeat humor type character, like in Parks and Recreation. I haven't seen this, so I'm not sure. It's billed more as a music and drama, but there's probably a few lines he has in this movie. That's just his, you can just see the
his
look.
character,
You
yeah.
see the look on his face. This looks like a very, very good movie. I'd never heard of it before, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, and I happened to see that there was an award from Sundance. I've always wanted to go to the Sundance Festival.
Yeah, that would be
'cause
fun.
I bet it would be really great.
Yeah, looking forward to that movie.
Yeah.
All right, you want to tell us that if you are an artist, what you can do about it, but you got one day.
Well, they would not want my artwork, but if you guys are out there who are artists and you would like to participate, you do only have one day. It's due tomorrow, October 31st at 4 p.m. Basically, if you are a fine artist or you would like to submit a work of art, you can submit it. They have applications. You need to apply online through the festival's website, which is foapom.com/apply, or you can call the number 949-464-4234. And artists applying to the Festival of Arts must be able to show that they have resided in Orange County for at least 1 year prior to October 31st, 2018. There are jury fees of $50 per medium submitted. But nonetheless, if you want to be able to showcase your artwork, this is a really good opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I do want to remind folks that if you want to do the fun pageant of the monsters,
yes.
they will have it tomorrow night. It's about $20. A lot of fun. We had a great time. We went on Saturday. There's a long maze you walk through that's patterned after Indiana Jones movies, and a lot of family fun and fortune tellers, and it's really, of course, it's the pageant people.
Yeah.
It's well done. All right, well done. Well, the weather, we might be well done as we heat up a little bit here. We could see some of those winds coming in overnight tonight into tomorrow. They don't look like they're going to be real strong in this area. We haven't seen red flag warnings go up yet. I think that possibly up in Ventura and those areas we may see that, but do expect some winds coming in this evening, overnight into tomorrow, maybe in through Thursday and possibly into Friday. By Friday, I think they're going to be really diminished, but it's still in the forecast for certain areas, but a little bit warmer. We're going to have a warm, somewhat warm Halloween out there. So there you have it. And let's look around the county. And nice weather, as I said. We're going to be in the low 70s, maybe hit 80 inland, a couple areas. But overall, it's starting really tomorrow, that increase of temperatures by I want to say about 3 or 4 degrees, so not real
Oh,
bad.
good. It won't be too cold for
Oh,
Halloween.
by the
and
way,
it's not raining. Right?
yeah, fall back on Saturday.
Oh, is that already?
We'll remind people about that daylight
Yeah.
saving change.
As we get closer to that time frame, we'll remind you guys. Okay, so tomorrow, some highlights. We're going to have Dr. Trin on, and we're going to have El Toro Pharmacy and a couple of other surprises. So Ken and I might be dressed tomorrow. We'll have to see how things go.
Yeah,
Because it's
we will
Halloween.
Spooky
All right,
fun.
spooky fun. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Oh.